If you haven't taken a look at the Washington Commanders playbook in Madden 25, you are missing out. For one, this is a playbook that does kind of implement a lot of the cool stuff that we saw in the College Football 25 game, but that's not the topic of today's video. We're actually going to be talking about one of the staples of the air raid offense in general. With Cliff Kingsbury in town in DC, you are going to see a lot of air raid concepts, some of which he applied at the college level in his stays at USC, Texas Tech, etc. Some that you saw in his time in Arizona, but now certainly we're going to be working these in Madden. And the concept that we're going to be looking at is mesh, and why the air raid style of mesh is so dope, because it actually has a completely different feature than most mesh concepts that you see in other playbooks. So what we're going to be doing here is breaking down why these drag routes sit down underneath a zone and how you can utilize twins or trips and understand how you're going to be able to pull zones back for these routes to cross the field for you to throw hot against pressure or against man-to-man, but also know that they're going to reliably sit down and turn into a hitch underneath and in between the zones for checkdowns whenever you are looking deep to short. So let's go ahead and kind of show you. If you go to concept, go down to medium pass and tab over till you find mesh, you're going to see two different types of mesh. The first one is going to be your traditional mesh, something that you would see out of a tight formation. These types of mesh plays are not that valuable in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, you can throw a drag left or right to left, but these will continue to run and oftentimes work themselves into zones, and you kind of just want them to sit down underneath. If we were to take a look here at this example, top-down view, you do have the meshing combo with shallow crosses going which way in the middle of the field, but you notice right here on this short side of the field that Keenan now continues to run and basically covers himself by running into this zone. This is where the air raid style mesh is going to take off and differentiate itself from other mesh types. So when we are in the Washington playbook or the air raid playbook, you're going to find a ton of these mesh concepts where the drags are actually option routes. You see right here, we have the pistol trips left open mesh dig. We have the gun split slot, mesh post wheel. Both have those option routes. Now, of course, you're gonna have some of the old school meshes that I don't really want to talk about today. You see right here, gun spread double flex, motion mesh. If you take a look throughout the playbook, tray open offset with mesh, both of them are sit down routes, tray open offset, mesh wheel. You get the point here with this. There's so many of these meshing concepts that are going to check down, and they can be extremely, extremely valuable for you. So in this situation, you're gonna see that on the right side of the field, we have a higher passing strength with two receivers and a running back in the backfield. On the left side of the field, we are going to have the weaker passing strength with one solo receiver and a running back to that side as well. The thing about this is that we can treat zone coverage like a horizontal stretch in which we utilize the B receiver and the right bumper to not only drive off the deep zones in the form of the post route, but stretch the flat zones horizontally in the form of the wheel route. And because we have DJ Moore coming from the backside of this formation, what you're gonna see is that rather than running into the flat zone, DJ Moore is gonna sit down and make himself available so that way we can dump the ball off to him for an easy gain. Now, of course, we could go ahead and completely flip the strength of this play by simply utilizing a different concept or flipping this to the other side of the field. So in this situation, if we were to flip this play, you're going to see the exact same behavior out of Odunze working from the short side of the field to the wide side of the field. Again, he makes himself available whenever he sees zone by sitting down underneath. And this basically allows you to kind of mimic, if you think about it, what we would actually do if we were to just put both of our running backs on triple options, but really with much better width. So again here, if I were to try to stretch the flat horizontally and just throw these little hitches underneath, all you're really doing at this point is pulling back the hook curls with that post behind and making a throw in traffic. But this concept is actually rather nice because you could go ahead and have a streak in some sort of flat attacking route that you hot route on your own, just a streak a post in maybe a table route. You could custom stem your post up and you're going to get the same effect. You're going to see that this guy is going to sit down underneath of the zone and make himself available to the quarterback. You also factor in that most players tend to user the middle of the field. So if they are, willingly biting down on the drags, a lot of times you're going to be able to throw this ball to the second level of the defense behind the linebacker tier, but in front of the deep zones. So whether you're in a cover 2 or a cover 3, you're going to be just fine. Now, these have all been cover 3 examples. Let's go ahead and run some cover 2 here to kind of show you how this is going to work. So we'll call Tampa 2. You're going to see it's basically the same deal. You're using the routes to drive off the coverage. The drag is going to find the soft hole in the zone, make himself available, and you can throw it for 7 yards. Now, of course, if you see the route developing sooner and you don't want to wait for him to set down, go ahead and throw it while he's in stride. He'll be able to catch it like an old drag. This is especially useful if, say, for whatever reason, you can get the user on this side of the field to kind of bail. So if you snap the ball and they're like out here in la la land and you just want to throw it underneath, obviously you can still have the potential to throw this hot and still rack catch it. So you don't have to wait for these routes to set down against zone. But this is how these routes work against zone. Whenever you get a man-to-man, they are going to operate under the tried and true run away from man, sit down versus zone. This is what makes the mesh concept in the air raid the best version of the mesh concept. And that's because when you run mesh out of other playbooks, it's run away from man and run into zone. And it's not great. So you basically have one window to throw a drag. These drags have 2 windows to be thrown. So in this case, we're running man-to-man, and you're going to see that both of the drags will continue running across the field, beating their man, using the basically pick action of what mesh is intended to be against man, with one player staying low on the shallow cross and one player running high. So if we were to kind of look at this from a side view, you're going to see that you're going to have both shallow crosses. One is going to break at a deeper angle than the other. And this allows us to throw the ball underneath and be able to scamper upfield. So again, this is such a great tool to be able to use against man-to-man. You just know, like, okay, he's going to continue running. So even if it looks tightly covered, throw it. He's not going to stop like he will against zone. So you could basically come out here and say, all right, I'm just going to run mesh. And you see, I mean, just how dangerous this could be against man-to-man coverage, especially with the mid blitz meta that's out there right now. A lot of players are going to probably play kind of like a press look. Now, there is something I do want to talk about this on a more advanced level, however, but before we get to that, make sure that you guys are checking out gridirongameplans.gg. I've been working hard at Madden launch. We've already got a defensive game plan out on the website. We're constantly uploading the vault content as well. You guys can subscribe. I've got all kinds of membership tiers for you. You can bundle this with college football. You can have just Madden content. You can have just college football content if you somehow stumbled across this channel but like college football more. I've got plenty of college football content on there. And you guys can also hop in our members only Discord, where all of our members, of which there are well over 2,000 inside of our Discord, converse with each other daily to help each other out with the game, discuss mutt and cut content, scheme changes, vault tips. You guys can enjoy our lab sessions in there that I offer at no additional cost to your membership for the Madden side of the website. Make sure that you guys are taking advantage of that. gridirongameplans.gg is the best place to get better at the game, other than this free YouTube resource. Now, I did mention that there is a little bit of a way to trick this. I want to attack all these tips from both sides. It's not just, hey, this is an offensive tip. What happens when you're running zone and you're running into the Washington playbook or the air raid playbook, and your opponent is constantly peppering you with those drag routes that sit down? Well, this is a cool trick, because you could call a base coverage that's zone, but man up individually the meshing receivers. And this will basically trick them into continuing to run away from man-to-man, and that will make them run into the zones on either side of the field. So if you know which players are running the drags in this concept, they will not set down because they know they're being followed by somebody. So they are actually fairly smart. You could throw the drag to the left here. Obviously, I'm under duress in the pocket, but you know that these routes are not going to slow down. So let's say I play like a hard flat and I man up Swain and then I man up B. What this is going to do is this is going to mean that those guys will see that it's zone, but realize that within the zone, they're manned up and they will not stop. They're just going to keep running. Now, of course, with hybrid defenses like this, mesh is still viable. That second level in breaking route is usually going to be wide open when you run into something like this. So it's not like mesh doesn't have answers for this. You absolutely can go ahead and run like mesh post. This is a concept that is so good, no matter what defense you're facing. I mean, it is truly, you're going to hit that second level, provided you're not under duress right away. So I love this concept. I think that this playbook is really, really good. Obviously, it's got a lot of glitchy stuff in it on top of this mesh problem that a lot of defenses are not going to be prepared for. If you can find any mesh concept in the game in any other playbook that just sits down like this, you should incorporate it in your offense. If you like this concept, you should run the air raid or the Washington playbook. If there's anything hidden that I haven't talked about, feel free to drop that in the comment section. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, and we'll see you guys tomorrow with our next YouTube upload. Until then, this is Zan. Get the lab in. Good luck.